This session is being recorded, and we are now having friends joining us from all around the world. We have scouts from here, there, and everywhere. As you're joining us, could you please, into the text box chat, just say where you are joining us from? Meg is our lovely representative from World Scouting who is facilitating this session. And as we just get ready, we have 29, 31 participants so far. It's fantastic to see you all here. Meg, how are you today?
I'm going great. How are you, Delshad?
I'm well, thank you for asking. I
It's so nice
can,
to see all the people from all the different places in the chat. Keep letting us know where you're calling in from. I can tell you I am a scout from Australia, but I'm calling in from Thailand today. And
and
we are, yeah, do you want to say where you're calling in from, Delshad?
normally I'd be calling in from Australia, but I'm joining you from Kandasek International Scout Center. And we have one of our panelists here. Laura, welcome.
Hi, Laura. Do you want to tell us where you're calling in from?
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm calling in from Kandersteg International Scout Center in Switzerland today.
And where are you a scout from?
I'm actually a scout from Scout South Africa, so a little bit far from home today.
Awesome. Oh my
And we
goodness.
are just looking for our other panelist, who is Gina. I can see you in the attendees, and I'm just elevating you right now.
As Elshad does that, make sure that everyone has a big stretch, because I'm sure you've all been on calls all day or been enjoying all the scoutiness all day. So make sure that you're ready for an awesome conversation. Hi, Gina.
Hi.
Do you want to quickly share with us where you were a scout from and where you're calling in from? And then we'll get started in a second.
So I'm here at Brovston Warren, but I'm from Mexico. And yeah.
Nice. Awesome. And we love to see there's so many countries in the chat. So please keep chucking them in. It's really awesome for us all to be such an international family, but all in one place. So keep letting us know where you're calling in from. We have Palestine, Pakistan, Malaysia, Greece, UK, Maldives. Oh my goodness, I can't even cover them all. So many countries. So please keep letting us know. It's so awesome to see that where you're calling in from. And we're going to get started. So I'll start by introducing myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Meg. I am a scout from Australia, and I am here today as a youth representative for World Scouting, hosting this awesome session and awesome conversation. But I also, as a lot of us do around the world, wear multiple scarves, and one of mine is pink, which means that I have been a pinky at Kandersteg International Scout Center. So I know firsthand the magic of being an international volunteer with scouting across the world. And I'm so excited to share this with you guys today. So the way that this session is going to run is we're just going to have an awesome conversation with our two volunteers from two different international scout centers. And we also want to hear from you as well. So as we're going through, if you have any questions, please chuck them in the chat. I have many myself, so I'll ask them first. And then we'll also definitely have some time to answer any of your questions as we go as well. So today is all about international volunteering, and I know that so many of you have heard about Kandersteg International Scout Centre and Scout Adventures before, or other ways of international scout volunteering, but it can kind of be a bit difficult to know, like, how do you apply? What does that look like? What does the experience look like? Is it for me? Is it something that I should be doing 10 years down the track? Is it something that I should have done last year? There's lots of questions that might be in your brain. And this will hopefully be a chance to answer some of those questions. And it's okay if you leave with more questions than answers, because our awesome volunteers will also direct us to where we can find that information afterwards and how we can share this story and the idea of volunteering internationally with our scouts back at home as well. So we know that international scouting is all about the opportunity to have a great cultural exchange. So you get to meet people from across the world, which we're already doing in the chat, but it's also a massive opportunity for us to grow personally. And so hopefully we'll be hearing a bit of the stories of Laura and Gina as well today. And I'm sure you've all heard stories from other young people across the world who have had that experience as well. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to ask Laura and Gina to give us a quick overview of who you are, how you ended up where you are, so that might be in Switzerland or in the UK, and where you volunteer. And then I'll just keep asking you guys some questions as we go. So I might start with you, Laura. Give me a 2-minute overview of who you are and why you're in Switzerland.
Oh, thank you so much, Meg. So my name is Laura. I am a scout from South Africa. I grew up in scouting. As soon as they opened to girls in my troop, I joined on that very first night and kind of dreamed that there would be a chance to interact with scouts from around the world, but never thought it would be a possibility for me. And 3 years ago, I got the opportunity to actually live that dream. So yeah, I've been a volunteer for 3 years at KISK, or Kandersteg International Scout Center here in Switzerland. It's the World Scout Center. And so I've gotten a chance to meet people from all around the world, some from South Africa, which feels like home. And now I've got friends in every corner of the planet.
That's so awesome, Laura. And Laura and I have met in person in real life when I was volunteering at Kandersteg International Scout Center last year. And it is really an awesome opportunity to meet new people, and so great that your dreams came true and you've been able to be at KISK for 3 years. That's crazy. Thanks, Laura. Gina, do you want to give us a bit of an overview of how you ended up from Mexico to the UK?
Yes, so I was working with Renata, and she told me like, oh, I'm volunteering as a scout. And I was like, what? Is that possible? And she explained me all about the program. And I was a scout myself, but in my childhood. And I knew about Gilgold Park because it's a very important center. And when Renata told me like where she's going to live and everything, I was like, so I can still do that. Let me apply. And I volunteered first at 2022, and now I came back as a senior here at Browston Warren. So it's been a great experience.
That's so awesome. And you know it's good when you go back, right? And I think that's a bit of the magic about the Scout Centers. If you meet someone who has volunteered once, they either have already been back or they plan on it. Nobody ever leaves a Scout Center and goes, oh, I'm done with that. And so that, I think is some of the magic of working and volunteering at International Scout Center. So Laura, I have a question for you. You mentioned that you've been at KISK for 3 years. Does that mean that if I want to volunteer at KISK, I need to go for 3 years to Switzerland? What does it look like in terms of volunteering in Switzerland? Can I go for a short time or only a long time?
Yeah, great question. And so you don't have to sign up for 3 years from the get-go. We have opportunities, anything from kind of 2 weeks to 3 years in volunteering. And most scouts choose to do a 3-month volunteer program. We call them short-term staff. And I'd love to run through a whole thing about it, but maybe we'd get that a bit later. But yeah, most people come for 3 months, maybe a couple more than that. We also have year-long opportunities, and then our longest volunteering opportunity is 3 years. So I couldn't get enough, had to do it for 3, but you don't have to commit for that long.
Awesome. I might just actually, Laura, we're going to make this a nice open chat because I have so many questions in my brain and I'm sure everyone else does too. Can you tell us about that? Like, what does it look like to be a short-term staff member and go for 3 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a whole thing. First of all, if you're coming for 3 months, you've got to pick a season. So we've got winter, spring, summer, and autumn, and they're all super different. The winter season, you've got to picture a postcard covered in snow with skiing and sledding and igloo building and this really cozy around a little winter campfire vibe. So that's a super special high adventure in the winter in the Alps experience. Then you've got the summer. It's this huge permanent mini jamboree feeling. You could see my background is one of our campfires actually. But it's like 2,000 scouts on site. Maybe you're guiding a hike in the mountains. Maybe you're a climbing guide. I think you were a climbing guide, Meg. Maybe you're on the campsite team and helping guests find their way to their campsite or to connect with another scout group. Maybe you're running a jamboree activity like a campfire, or we have something called the Kunda Challenge. So the summer is this huge international jamboree experience. And then we've got the low seasons, the spring and the autumn. This is where the volunteers are super connected with each other. There are not as many guests around, so we're preparing for the season to come and closing from the season past. And it's a time to really get to know your fellow scouts and volunteers, whereas the high seasons are more meeting scouts from who are coming as guests kind of thing. So a day in the life can look very different between those seasons. Maybe if you're coming in the low season, you're going to be working in catering and some housekeeping. Maybe you're prepping a bed and then you're checking a guest into their room. And then the next day you're meeting someone who's from Brazil and you're hearing about their experience together. Maybe you're deep cleaning something or raking leaves in the campsite. And then in the summertime, it can be completely different. You'd be out with a power washer on the campsite, or maybe guiding a zipline activity, or teaching about solar cooking in a solar workshop. So there's so much variety in what being a short-term staff can look like.
Yeah, I agree. And I asked you a tricky question because I think there's a lot to cover in what volunteering looks like as a short-term staff member. And as Laura said, that was my experience last year. I think it feels so long ago. Last year over summer, I was a rock climbing guide for the summer season, and it was an incredible experience. And as Laura said, every day was different. And I was in a team with short-term staff members from across, I think, like 35 different countries, and everybody was working in different spaces, but we all had such a good time, and we all got a chance to kind of work together and do different things that pushed us outside our comfort zone, regardless of whether that was in the rock climbing space or helping out in the kitchen or talking to scouts as they walked down the road. There was always lots of really cool opportunities. Awesome. Gina, I have a similar question for you. You said that you came and then you left and then you went back again. What does it look like in terms of the kind of the shorter term volunteering opportunities in Scout Adventure versus the longer term? Yeah, what does that experience look like for you?
Well, the shorter term is not that short. It's 6 months. It's from March to September, and we have a longer term that is from February to November. So it's 9 months. But basically, they train us to become outdoor instructors. We do some catering. We help with the maintenance of the centers, and we also do some customer service. And we have 7 centers all around England and Scotland. So you have larger teams, smaller teams. Some are closer to the cities, the others are more in the nature. So we have every, center for every lifestyle.
That's so awesome. And I think that's something that's really special, is that there's so many different spaces that you can always find a spot that suits you, right? And I think that's something that I actually have quite a few friends who were in my summer term at Kansas International Scout Center, and then this year have gone to Scout Adventures. All of them have ended up in different places across the UK, and all of them have had an awesome time. And I think that from what I've heard, the experiences are not comparable because everyone is different depending on who you're with and where you are and what you're doing as well. That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you another question, Gina. How old do I have to be to volunteer in Scout Adventures?
You just have to be 18, and there's no limit, but you have to have a very open mind. Like, you're going to be with different nationalities, different age. Like, it's very interesting to see someone that probably is their first time living away from home and actually like away from their parents. And then we have like more experienced people like myself. Like, I was living out of my parents' house for 2 years. So for me, it was like normal. And then we have like older people. So yeah, I think the most important thing is to be 18 and have an open mind.
Awesome. And if I'm looking at applying, do I need to have any certain experiences from home already, or do I have to have a certain badge to apply, or do I have to have, been on a certain number of scout camps? Like, how do I know that it's the right time for me to apply to work in Scout Adventures?
As I said, like, because we see the name Scout Adventures, we tend to think like, oh, I need to be a scout, but you don't. Like, of course, we love scouts. Like, the point of view, it's different. Like, the respect that they feel, like, it's amazing, but you don't have to be a scout. And what I really like is that they train us. We have, like, when you arrive, you have a 10-week training where we have like welfare, we have how to work with youth people. They teach us how to do the climbing, the bushcrafting, all of those activities. Like, I used to be a makeup artist, like it has nothing to do with outdoor activities, and now I'm here like running with the helmets, setting up the climbing wall, doing zip wire. Now I know how to do start a fire. Like it has nothing to do with my life, but they really make us like a good outdoor instructors and how to deal with that.
That's awesome. And I think that's a perfect answer. And I know, like, when I met all the people that were on the summer short-term team with me, everybody had very different experiences. Some were straight out of uni, some had been working for many years, like some had decided to take a break because they'd finished uni and weren't sure what to do next, or some people just took 3 months off work at a random time and were like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And some of them were just doing it during university holidays. So there's lots of different walks of life, as you said, lots of different experiences. But I think from my perspective, it's passion. Like, you need passion, you need excitement, you need to want to be there, and everything else will come. As you said, you can be trained in everything except that passion and enthusiasm for being a scout and for being outside and for sharing what scouting is like with the world and for giving young people from across the world that experience. That's the magic you need to bring, and everything else can be sorted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Laura, I have another question for you. Thanks, Gina. When we look at scouts from coming to Switzerland, what does that look like? Do we have to be 18? Do we have to be from a European country? Like, how does it work to get to KISK?
Yeah, thank you for asking, Meg. There are 4 things you need to do. The first is you need to be 18 when your season would start. So you could apply while you're still 17, but you'd need to be 18 by the time you arrived on site. Then at KISK, you have to be a scout or a guide with an active membership with one of the associations registered with either WASM or WAGS. You can join. You don't have to have been a scout for many, many years, but you need to currently be a scout to come and volunteer at KISK. Then while we live in this little German-speaking village in the Swiss Alps, you need to be able to speak and communicate in English, because we have volunteers from so many different countries from around the world that we found one commonality, one way to connect and communicate together. So you do have to practice your English if you're not a native speaker, and get as good as you can so that you can communicate with all your fellow pinkies. That's what we're called. And then the last one, you would have to complete the WASM Safe from Harm course. You can do that quite quickly when you're doing your application, but it would also be a compulsory thing you'd need to complete to come and be a volunteer here.
Awesome. And I just have one other question, Laura. I've been looking at the Q&A questions. So thanks for all the questions. Keep them coming. You mentioned an even shorter term that you can volunteer that's shorter than 3 months. What does that look like? Can anyone volunteer for 1 week, 2 weeks?
Yeah, and so shorter than 3 months, we have something called helpers, and this is usually a 1 to 2 week volunteering spree, or something called a work party. So usually work parties are organized with a country who will bring 10 people to KISK to kind of run a service project, if you can imagine it that way. They'll come and help out for a little while. And if you're interested in joining a work party or bringing a work party to KISK, then maybe you could reach out to your NSO to find out if they already come to KISK, or reach out to our reception team and we can tell you more about those opportunities. Or the 1 to 2 week helper positions. A lot of the time you would have had to volunteer before, so it's not always open to everyone. But depending on the year and the position, sometimes you can come just for 2 weeks to help out in the very high season or over New Year's. And those opportunities also go up on our website under the volunteering page.
And on social media as well, you can sometimes see it if you follow KISK.
Yeah. KISK's Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn usually shares them all as well.
Awesome. Good to know if that's how you think, like me. Awesome. Thanks, Laura. I have another question for you, Laura. We've talked about what you do when you're at KISK, but what will, like, a lot of the time, and I'm going to ask you as well, Gina, so start thinking, a lot of the time when I volunteer, right, I'm spending 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or a year. It's a lot of time. And it's a lot of time to invest in something, to leave home, to leave your job or your uni. What do I get out of volunteering at KISK or Scout Adventures? What does it look like for me? Like, do I leave with anything more than what I went with? So I'm going to ask you first, Laura.
Yeah, this is actually, I think, such an important part of volunteering. I think, to me, there are kind of 2 sides to it. The first is the the really giving back side. Why am I doing this? Well, I'm here to be of service and to be a part of bringing scouts and guides of the world together in this alpine environment to inspire them and empower them in the creation of a better world. That's why us Pinkies are here. That's why we do what we do. But there's also definitely this side that is about the young people, and we ourselves are young people as well. So for a volunteer, what do you get out of spending 3 months or 1 year or 3 years here? Well, we focus a lot on personal development as well. So there's some skills training. There's a lot of power skills or soft skills that you learn through your time here, that there's some coaching and training around. And then there are all the practical, exciting things like all your accommodation and meals are covered while you're here, days off per week, as well as adventurous opportunities around those days off. So lift passes into the Alps if you're here in winter, ski passes and skis, and someone who'll teach you how to try snowboarding for the first time, and recommendations on where to hike and high ropes courses. So those kinds of things are also included. And then we want your family or your friends or your scouts to come and experience it. So there's some free overnights for them to come and stay at the center. Every week there's a staff night out where we do something as a team. Maybe it's a quiz, maybe it's going mountain tubing, and there's a whole range there. But there's so many benefits to volunteering. It would take me hours to talk through all of them, but those are some of the highlights, I would say.
That's an awesome take, and I agree. There are so many things. I mean, the biggest thing is, when else do you get a chance to live in the Swiss Alps for 3 months? Like, it's a very special experience and often a very expensive experience. So to have food and accommodation covered means that everybody has access to being in this hub of knowledge and experience. And when else do you get a chance to live with 40 other young people just like yourself from all corners of the globe? Like, I think that's a real benefit that I didn't really expect when I went. And I think, yeah, that's awesome, Laura.
Can I add one more thing, Meg? Something that maybe a lot of scouts don't know about is that you mentioned it's very expensive, particularly if you're coming from far away. So KISK does also have a solidarity fund, and that helps volunteers support their travel to get to and from KISK. So there are too many specifics to go through all of it. But if you think the thing holding you back from being a volunteer here is the travel expenses, then please pop us a message or check it out online. There's more information about how to get support even to get to KISK the first time.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. I think that's a really important thing. And a lot of this information, and we're going to get to Gina and Scout Adventures in a second, all this information is on a website as well. So if you want to go back and have another look, or if you want to reach out on social media to the Scout Centers, they'll be able to answer your questions as well. This doesn't end here. If you leave with more questions than answers, that's good, because it means you're thinking about it and you're getting excited. Awesome. Gina, over to you. What does it look like to volunteer? What do I get out of volunteering at any of the Scout Adventures locations?
So Scout Adventures, what I really like is that they always make us feel like in family, like we are a big family. We receive pocket money. It's, enough for allow us to travel abroad. And for me, in my case, it was my dream to come here and live in England, and now it's my 2nd year. And then all the experiences, all the certifications actually helped me when I went back to my country. And for me, the most valuable thing is the friendships that I made. So this is my 3rd year living with my best friend. So now we are having a different experience because we are now seniors. So it's a different position. But that, now my English, it's not perfect, but it has.
I disagree.
No, I know that I have to improve, but that also opened the doors for other job opportunities. And we have socials as well. So every month we try to do an activity. Most of them are out of the centers, and Scout Adventures pays for that. So it's a good way to get entertained, so to have some team building. And we are provided with food, accommodation, with uniform, which is very, very important as well. And for me, like another thing is like it just opens your mind. Like you meet people from all around the world, like all different languages. Like now I'm trying to learn Portuguese. Like it really opens your mind.
Yeah, I think I agree wholeheartedly, all of those things. And Gina, I think you're so right. Like the fact that you get to live surrounded by people who are somehow just like you, but also from all sorts of parts of the world who share their language and their culture, and you get to share yours. And it's just, yeah, I think there's some magic in volunteering overseas that you can't put into words. You have to live it to understand it. And I can see it in both you, Laura and Gina as well. Awesome. And another thought in that I was just thinking, another benefit that no one tells you about is you can travel across the world without having to stay at hotels.
Exactly. Like this year after this, I'm going to Argentina to visit a very like my friend, and she spent Christmas with me for 2 years now. So it really opens like the world for you.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think like for me, I went to a World Scout moot in Iceland, so I got to meet lots of people from all across the world. But the relationships that you build over 2 weeks are not the same as the relationships that you build after living with each other for 3 months or 6 months or a year. Like those, yeah, you're right. Those relationships are they become family, and I think that's a really special part. Awesome. Okay, I have a question for you, Gina. I'm going to go with you first. Can you tell us about a moment where you've just felt really lucky to be at Scout Adventures? Just like any time. I realized I didn't prep you for this question, so I apologize. That you've been like, wow, this is really special.
Well, I was an instructor of 3G swing, and we have a kid that has autism, and he usually didn't talk to the kids, only with his penguin and the teacher. And I thought he was like just having fun, but he was sitting like there. And then he said, I want to give it a try. And we were like, oh, what? Okay, perfect. And we prepared everything, and he gave it a go. And the teacher was crying, saying like, you don't understand like the big step that this is for all of us. Like, I can't believe it. He gave it a try. Thank you so much. And the kid was like, my penguin is very proud of me, and he had a lot of fun. And for me, it was like, that's amazing. Like how working outdoor, like all these activities are for a reason, and that's for the develop and to for have fun, and they make us feel like this is for everyone, and we will adapt the sessions for the special needs. And that's from being an instructor. But as I said, I think having these amazing friendships that you made with this program, it's very like I really like, oh, we are going to Argentina, who's going? And then suddenly you have 10 people from different countries going to Argentina. It's just so you can meet and be together and try to remember the good old days. So that's like that is what is worth it from here. Yeah,
I love that so much, Gina. I think both of those stories I resonate with, and I'm sure everybody is very excited about the possibility to be in that space. But you're so right. I think in a similar way, when I was a Pinky, I went because I wanted to be outside. I wanted a chance to meet new people. I wanted a chance to meet scouts who were visiting from across the world, but I didn't realize the impact that we would have as people working and volunteering in these spaces, like the stories that you become a part of. Like these young people are going to tell these stories for years, potentially like decades, and you will always be a part of that story, of that journey. And you never know what spark might happen when a young person is at Scout Adventures or Canastag International Scout Center, and what that might create in the future. And it could be because of a moment that you spent with them. I think that's so special.
yeah.
Awesome. Laura, what about you?
Well, there are so many in this amount of time, but the first thing that popped in my mind was I remember it was New Year's Eve, and like we were just starting the countdown to midnight, and I'm standing a little bit behind the crowd of people. They're all listening to a speech and watching as something exciting is about to happen. And I'm just reflecting a little bit on my year and what's happened. And a scout who I hardly knew at the time came and like tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, "Are you all right?" And he could totally see how in my head I was, that I was so stressed and working, and just in that moment of like, we are scouts who hardly know each other, but we have this one thing in common. And we've developed a friendship. We've visited each other all over Europe now. And it just brought me back to like, we are connected as scouts by this one thing. And that is so special. And you don't have to have the same background. You don't have to have grown up in the same place, but you can be connected, and you can make differences in the world through those connections. And that's been a really special part of the journey for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is the reality is 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year goes very quickly. And so when you do take that time to stop and reflect while you're there, it's very much a pinch me moment. And I totally appreciate what you're talking about, Laura. I myself was trying to think of one particular moment, and it is so hard because everything is full of moments. And I think that's why it's so special, because you'll have a moment with different people and different times, and with yourself as well. I think like I never thought that I was capable of running an outdoor rock climbing course. I'd never thought that I could work with running a session with scouts who didn't speak English, who was being translated through their leader, where I then had to think about how do you do a safety brief that was really, you know, quick and easy for them to understand. I never thought that I would have a chance to cook in the kitchen for hundreds of people, or you know, walk through a scout center where you have scouts from all across the world and they're all waving at you and saying hi and mentioning about like getting really excited about the experience that they had with you. And I think that's a really incredibly special part of being in these spaces. I have another question for you both, actually, and it's not about volunteering, it's about the centers. If I'm out there and volunteering isn't quite where I'm at right now, how do I visit Canastaiga International Scout Center and Scout Adventures? I'll start with you, Gina.
Well, you have to do a guest request. So just pop into Instagram. You will find some of us, and you can ask like, can I go and visit? We are open. We just need to see if there's any rooms available. You just have to pay a little £5, I think, for food and the accommodation. But in the UK, that everything is so expensive. This is like worth it. But yeah, you can do a day visit as well, but you just have to go to receptions and register. But yeah, and we have 7 centers across UK and Scotland, so you will find everything. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks, Gina. And what about you, Laura? How do I just visit KISC?
Oh, well, you're very, very welcome anytime. We are open 365 days a year, so you can come and pop in anytime. Usually, if you're coming as a scout, you maybe need to do a little bit of pre-planning, and sometimes some fundraising, the travel arrangements, all of that kind of thing. And we're almost sold out for next summer. We're filling up quickly. So I definitely recommend, if you'd like to come and see us, that you inquire through the website or you email our reception team. But yeah, you kind of got to think about what you'd like to see. If you want the jamboree feeling, then come in the summer. If you want to try a snow sport for the first time, come in the middle of winter. If you want just some peace and quiet, then come in the spring. It's really beautiful. But yeah, you can inquire through our website. You can bring your whole scout group or come by yourself. You can even bring your family. Through the year, outside of the high summer season, everyone is welcome at KISC, so you don't have to be a scout to come and visit us.
That's awesome. And I think, yeah, that's a big thing, right? We're talking about international volunteering, but a lot of people get that spark for wanting to volunteer after visiting the centers. And that's okay if you want to visit and experience it and be a guest first as well. It's an awesome opportunity to see what it's really like. And I think that was, again, another really special part about being a Pinky, is having so many guests being there and experiencing it firsthand and saying to us, how do you get this job? This is so cool. How did you get here? How do I be you? How can I come back this time next year? And that's a really awesome part of, yeah, just attending and being a part of and experiencing that magic. So I'm going to go back to you, Laura. How do I apply? Like we've mentioned a lot of things in this time, and our brains might be exploding with new information. If I'm looking at being a short-term staff member or which is 3 months, a long-term staff member, which you can let us know how long that is. How do I apply? How do I know when to apply? What does the application process look like?
Yeah, great question. I feel like we're almost constantly hiring because we go through these seasons, but maybe I can share it at the end. We've got a link and a QR code. If you go to kisc.ch, kisc.ch, and then you'll find a page all about volunteering, and it'll tell you about all the different opportunities, because you really have to think what suits you. Would you like to come for 3 months in spring, 3 months in summer, or would you like to come for 5 months as a campsite assistant, or for 1 year as a catering manager? So there are a lot of different opportunities. They come with different roles and responsibilities. And those can all be found through our website, even the helper ones for just 2 weeks. And they usually recruit about 6 months in advance. That's because we like to support with the visa process if you need a visa to come to Switzerland. So there's a whole process to go through in the applications. But at the moment, we're about 6 months out from spring. So we're recruiting for spring next year. And over sort of December, January, we will recruit for next summer. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm about to finish university and I'd like to come and join it, or I'm about to finish school and I'd like to come and join, and then we'll be recruiting for next summer in December, January. And even if there's a position that you know about, maybe you want to be a volunteer in winter, but you know that the winter applications for 2026 are not open yet, you can sign up to be reminded as soon as applications open for that role in any of our positions. So you can get your head on already and say, I want to be the next autumn short-term staff in 2025. And all the application details, what you need, what paperwork to prepare is available on our website.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. That's very easy. And we can go to the website and find the information when we sleep on it tonight and think about it and get really excited tomorrow morning. That's great. I have one quick question to add to yours, Laura, because I've just looked at the questions from our beautiful audience. Insurance. We have a question about what happens in terms of insurance. Do we have to pay for our own health insurance? Does the center offer insurance? What does that look like?
That's a great question. So in Switzerland, there are 2 main types of insurance that you need: accident insurance and sickness insurance. KISS covers your accident insurance. So if you get injured on the job or off the job, but maybe on a day off you go skiing and you break your leg, KISS covers all of that, and it's all included in your time. And if you're a long-term staff, they cover the sickness insurance as well. But as a short-term staff, you would need to take out your own health insurance for if you get sick with the flu or COVID or something like that. But yeah, accident insurance is covered. Health insurance not covered for short-term staff, but is for long-term staff.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Okay, over to you, Gina. Can you tell us maybe first, insurance, is it covered? And then the second part of the question is, how do I apply? How do I find out when I need to apply? What do I need to do to apply?
So insurance, you have to pay for that if you are on the long term, which is 9 months. On the 6 months, it's not mandatory, as it's like a tourist kind of time, so it's fine. But you can find all that information at the website, Scout Adventures, or if you have any more questions, you can email at volunteering@scoutsadventures.org.uk. And there's like the whole information, like how your daily life will look like and all of that. But basically, you can start applying by now for the next one, which is on February, because we need to do it like in 4 months in advance to apply for the visa and all that process. But if you have any questions, we always have a person, probably that is Kaylee, which she's really, really nice, and she tried to help us as much as she can. And what else? So yeah, everything is on the website. And if you have any questions, you can just email as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Gina. Okay, I have one last question, and then I'll let you all off the hook. I've been going through and we've answered pretty much all of the audience questions, so thank you so much for all of your awesome questions. And as we've already mentioned, as questions come up, you can always reach out to the Scout Centers themselves as well. And my question to you, both of you, Laura and Gina, is I'm sitting at home right now. I'm looking at this. I'm on the fence. I'm thinking, oh, that could be cool. What are you going to say in like 1 minute to our scouts across the world sitting at home thinking about it? What would you say to them? Gina, do you want to go first?
Just do it. This will change your life completely in a good way. Like, that's why I came back. This is my second year. It really opens your mind. It will give you skills for life, that's for sure. Friendships. So I think just do it, give it a try. Try to, because we first do an interview, meet you, and if you pass that filter, you have time to decide, but I think it's worth it. You won't regret it. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gina. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you just said. Laura, what would you say?
I think I'd say go and check out one of our social media platforms to get some pictures in your head of what does KISK look like, and that alone is exciting. But yeah, if I talk to almost anyone who's been here as a Pinky and I ask them, what's it like to live at KISK? They'll tell me they're living the dream. And yeah, this would be your opportunity to come and do that too. So if you want to be a part of living that dream, if you want to see what Baden Powell started so many years ago, then yeah, come and be a part of making the world a better place.
You guys are going to make me cry. I agree. Again, I think that's absolutely it, Laura. I think the reason that I applied actually is I had heard people talk about KISK for a long time, hadn't really thought much about it. And then I was in a meeting like this and somebody said, when else do you get a chance to spend every day with a different group of scouts in the Swiss Alps, going hiking, living there, meeting other people from across the world? Like, when else will you have this chance? And then I saw on Facebook the applications closed in 2 days and I applied. I did it incredibly last minute. I had no thoughts about it before, and it was the best decision that I've ever made. And I think everybody who has gone to KISK and to Scout Adventures feels the same. It's just, the magic is something that you can't put into words, which is what we've said. And you'll feel it, you'll see it in the eyes of anybody who's volunteered. There's the reason that people go back and back and back, because it's something that you can't find anywhere else. It's an incredible experience. It's an incredible opportunity. And our stories are just 3 of many of young people from across the world, from every corner of the world, who have had experiences like this. So I know this has been a lot. I hope that you've come and learned a little bit more, that you've got a bit of that spark inside you and that you're interested, because international volunteering at scouting, in the scouting world, is something that you can't get anywhere else. It's an opportunity that you don't want to pass up. It doesn't matter how old you are. Say yes. If you see it, say yes, apply. Everything else will fall in place. Your life at home will keep going. You'll go back and everything will be just as it was, but you'll be a different person because you'll be entirely transformed through your experience at KISK. I know I was, and I think about it almost every day. And I've seen some of my summer shorties in the chat saying, love you, Meg, because we're each other's biggest cheerleaders. We are always there for each other. As Gina said, you end up with young, like, friends for actual life forever. Whether or not you want them to be in your life, they're there forever because you have had the opportunity to grow personally, to learn more about yourself, to be a world changer, but also to learn about other people around you. And I think that's what's so special about scouting. So what you should be doing or thinking about doing next is check out the KISK website and the Scout Adventures website. We might be able to chuck it in our chat. And we can't wait to see all of your beautiful faces in Switzerland or in the UK soon. A massive thank you to Laura, a massive thank you to Gina for spending your time here today, sharing the story. We really appreciate you, and I'm sure we have lots of very inspired people on the call, and I hope that you all think about visiting these beautiful Scout Centers soon, and the links are coming in the chat now. So that's us signing off. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Gina, again. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Meg.
See you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.